Elizabeth Jane's back was turned when her mother opened the letter. It said, "Meet me at 8 o'clock this evening, if you can, at the old Roman ruins on the Budmouth Road. They are easy to find. The news is such a shock to me. The girl seems to know nothing. Do not say anything to her yet. We will decide what to do when I have seen you. Michael Henchard." He said nothing about the 5 guineas, but to Susan the amount meant that he had brought her back again. Susan waited restlessly for the end of the day, telling Elizabeth Jane that she was invited to see Mr. Henchard. But she said nothing to show that the meeting was not at his house, nor did she hand the note to her daughter. Casterbridge had once been an old Roman town. The ruins Henchard had mentioned in his note were seldom visited at night, because they were rather frightening. Henchard had chosen this spot as the safest and most secret place for meeting his long lost wife, because he believed no one would see him there. As mayor of the town, he had a reputation to keep up. He could not invite her to come to his home until they had decided exactly what they were going to do. Just before 8, he approached the ruins and entered from the south side. No one was there. In a few moments, he saw a female figure creeping in from the north. They met in the center. Neither spoke at first. There was no necessity for speech, and the poor woman leaned against Henchard, who supported her in his arms. "I don't drink," he said in a low, apologetic voice. "You hear, Susan? I don't drink now. I haven't since that night." Those were his first words. He felt her bow her head in understanding. After a minute or two, he began again. "If I had known you were living, Susan, but there was every reason to think you and the child were dead and gone. I took every possible step to find you, travelled, advertised. In the end, I thought you must have gone to some colony with that man and drowned on the voyage out. Why did you keep silent like this?" "Oh, Michael, because of him. What other reason could there be? I thought I had to be faithful to him to the end of our lives. I believed that I really did belong to him. I could not leave him when he had paid so much for me. I meet, you know, only as his widow. I consider myself that, and I know I have no claim upon you. If he had not died, I should never have come, never. Of that you may be sure. How could you be so simple? I don't know. Yet it would have been very wicked if I had not thought like that," said Susan, almost crying. "But now, what are we to do, Susan? How are we to arrange living together again? What shall we tell Elizabeth Jane? We cannot tell her the real story. She would so despise us. I could not bear that. That is why she was brought up in ignorance of you. I could not bear it either. We must think of something. You have heard that I have a large business here and that I am mayor of the town." "Yes," she murmured. "These things, as well as fearing the girl will discover our disgrace, make it necessary to be very careful. I don't see how you two can return openly to my house as the wife and daughter I only treated badly and sold. We'll go away at once. I only came to see. No, no, Susan, you are not to go. I didn't mean that. He said, I have thought of a plan. You and Elizabeth Jane must take a cottage in the town as the widow Mrs. Newson and her daughter. I shall meet you, court you, and marry you, and Elizabeth Jane shall come to my house as my stepdaughter. That way our secret would remain ours alone, and I should have the pleasure of seeing my wife and only child under my roof. I am quite in your hands, Michael, she said meekly. I came here for the sake of Elizabeth Jane. Then, after a pause, I liked the idea of repeating our marriage. It seems the only right course after all this. Now I think I must go back to Elizabeth Jane and tell her that our relative, Mr. Henchard, kindly wishes us to stay in the town. She seemed pleased at this thought, and soon afterwards they parted. Susan went first. Henchard stood back and watched from the shadows of the ruined pillars as his wife returned the way she had come. Then Henchard himself went home. Henchard found Donald Farfrae still sitting in the office where he had left him working. You shall do no more tonight, he said at last, taking up the account books and shutting them with friendly force. There's enough time tomorrow. Come indoors with me and have something to eat and drink. They locked up the office, and the young man followed his companion into the house. Over supper, Henchard began to tell Farfrae about himself. He told him that he had begun life as a haymaker, had married when he was 18, and had soon afterward lost his wife through his own fault. He described the whole shameful story. He told him about the oath which he had sworn and had kept for 19 years, and how after all that time his wife had come back that morning, and now he said he did not know what to do. Can't you live together again and forgive each other? Farfrae suggested. That's what I have planned. But Farfrae, said Henchard gloomily, by doing right by Susan, I wrong another innocent woman. How's that? Well, for many years now, I have been doing business in Jersey, particularly in the potato season. Now, one autumn, while I was there, I fell quite ill. A woman staying at the same hotel took pity on me and nursed me. Heaven knows why, for I wasn't worth it. She was a lady of good family, well educated, the daughter of some military officer, but he was dead, and her mother too, and she was left with little money and as lonely as I. Being together in the same house, we came to like each other very much. But after I had left, she suffered a lot because of me, for people talked rather badly about her and me. She didn't forget to tell me so in her letters, one after the other, though she had not cared what people thought while she was looking after me. In the end, I felt I owed her something, as I had not heard from Susan for so long. I asked her if she would marry me, even though we did not know for sure if Susan was dead. She was very happy and said she would. We were going to be married soon, but now Susan has appeared. So you see, I must treat one of these women badly, and it must be the second. My first duty is to Susan. There's no doubt about that. Well, it cannot be helped, said the younger man. You must write to the young lady, and in your letter you must make it clear that she cannot be your wife because the first has come back. That won't do. I must do more than that. I must. Though she did always say she had a rich uncle or aunt or something, I must send a useful sum of money to her. Now, will you help me do this? I am so bad at letters. I will. I haven't told you quite everything yet, Henchard continued. My wife Susan has my daughter with her. The baby that was in her arms at the fair. The girl knows nothing except that I am some sort of relative by marriage. She has grown up believing that the sailor to whom I sold her mother was her father and her mother's husband. What her mother and I both feel now is that we can't tell the girl the shameful truth. Now, what would you do? I want your advice. I think I'd run the risk and tell her the truth. She'll forgive you both. Never, said Henchard. I dare not do that. Her mother and I will marry again. It will not only help us to keep our child's respect, but it will be more proper. Susan looks upon herself as the sailor's widow. She wouldn't think of living with me as before without another religious ceremony, and she is right. Farfrae said no more. He carefully thought out and wrote the letter to the young woman in Jersey. Henchard thanked the Scotsman gratefully as he finished and got up to leave. I feel it a great relief, Farfrae, to tell a friend about all this. You see, now that the mayor of Casterbridge is not so happy as it seems, he ought to be from all his money. I do, and I am sorry for you, said Farfrae when he had gone. Henchard copied out the letter himself and placed it with a cheque in an envelope. Can it be, he said to himself thoughtfully, that this will end so easily?